again, I'm Peter Van Dusen, and that was an excerpt from the rally on Parliament Hill today with veterans. And earlier today on Parliament Hill, the spouse of a veteran was speaking out about the treatment of veterans after she was speaking with the NDP caucus. Jennifer Mignot was in the news last week when cameras captured her trying unsuccessfully to have a word with Veterans Affairs Minister Julian Fantino. Mignot's husband, Claude Rainville, is a veteran, suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. Mignot's calling for more help and education programs for spouses and families of vets with PTSD. Here's what she had to say, accompanied by NDP leader Tom Mulcair, after the NDP caucus meeting this morning.
Merci. You'll have to excuse me. It was quite an emotional moment. I'm just a citizen. I'm just a vet's wife. I'm a caregiver too. And just to be listened to this morning was huge for me. What I shared with the NDP, I'm sorry, was a little bit of our story, the challenges that I have every day with my husband. I wanted to let all the MPs know how much us, caregivers, means the difference between life and death, basically. I'm sorry, the words are kind of missing. I need people to understand what we're going through every day. I need people to understand how much we love them. And when we talk about PTSD, we not only talk about military PTSD, it's the reality for every caregivers. And we are forgotten. We need those training in order to love and to be there in an appropriate way for our husband, because every single little thing, every little difference is huge. And like I said, this is what makes the difference between life and death. I know for sure that when my husband is thinking about that, my face is in his mind. We need to recognize that. That's all I have to say for now. Sorry. J'ai eu l'occasion de partager avec le NDP.
I had the opportunity to share with the NDP caucus my life, a life that is also being lived by hundreds of women who have been forgotten by the system. They love their spouse, but they don't know what to do, how to cope with the situation. The question I asked, don't forget that these people were trained to fight. Consequently, if they have nightmares during the night, sometimes it's 2 or 3 nightmares a night. When you only weigh 130 pounds, how can you wake them up? Do you understand what I mean? These are very basic issues, and these make an unbelievable difference in the life of the person who's been hurt, their spouses, and their family. The time has come for people to think of what these caregivers are living, these what we call natural caregiver. As a citizen, as a civilian, as the spouse of a veteran, I don't represent anybody else but myself and the love I have for my spouse. What are you asking the government? Are you meeting with other parties? I haven't heard from Mr. Fantino or Mr. Farmhill. I must tell you that I haven't contacted them again and again. And my goal today, and I appreciated this opportunity that was given to me by the NDP to make them aware of the situation the soldier and their spouses are living. The system is missing some parts. We need extra training. Maybe this training would help us to better manage what we live at home. Maybe we could go back to work part-time. I'll give you an example. Since I went back to school for a while. I had to quit. But what I learned as far as social work means that I can be more adequate for my spouse. It means that the consultations he has with his psychologist are done by phone. It means that Veterans Affairs doesn't have to pay back to us transit cost. So these are economies we've realized for the government.
Consider as allies, because the impact we can have actually can have an economical impact. I'm sorry, you get the picture. Huge, but not only money-wise for the government, but mostly for my husband. You should see the difference it made just because I learned how to listen to him appropriately. Just that.
So what are you asking exactly? Like, what was your message to MPs in terms of what you need that you would like the government to do?
I would like to be recognized as a military caregiver, just like the U.S. already do. I mean, like I said, I have no idea on how effective these programs are in the U.S., but when I go on their webpage, like, I'm impressed. I feel forgotten here, let me tell you, because in the U.S., they have access to workshop, resources, calling center. Go look at it, VA caregiver. You'll see the difference. Go on the VAC page, web page, and check it out as a spouse, as a family member. You'll see the difference by yourself. And this is what I'm asking, this recognition that would allow me to be trained effectively dealing with the challenges related to PTSD.
The House Committee yesterday made some recommendations about the new Veterans Charter.
Yes.
One of those recommendations involved military families. Have you read that recommendation? And if the government were to implement that, would that help you?
As a matter of fact, I didn't have the time to fully look at the recommendation, as we are going to talk about it tomorrow at the press conference, other spouses and I. So
Say that, there'd be more help for spouses. They'd have access to psychosocial and other supports.
like I said, these are recommendations. Like, these are recommendations. Like, I think we could take the opportunity and be heard, since, decision, from what I understand, will be taken in 3 months or something like that. So I invite Mr. Fantino. I'd love to share with him what I was able to share with the NDP today.
You said earlier that you didn't contact the minister again. Why not?
Moi, je suis une aidante naturelle.
Okay, I'm a natural caregiver.
Dans ma vie depuis jeudi dernier.
Since last Thursday, what happened in my life has been overwhelming. Each trip, each event has impacts on my husband. Listen, he's next to me. When you look at him, he looks fine. Okay, he's on point right now. Okay, but that's something I live every day. Did I deserve to meet with Mr. Fantino? I don't know. It's a lot of effort on my part, to be here.
Je suis fatiguée, moi aussi.
I'm tired, like all the other spouses I know. I'm alone. I don't know who I can turn to. But tomorrow there'll be a scrum, and spouses of some veterans will see what they think of the recommendations tabled yesterday, and then I'll contact again Mr. Fantino at his office.
Minister, last week, have you got any calls or offers of support from the government?
Our case manager called to make sure that I had all the psychological help that I needed. And I appreciated that call. Like I told her, I understand why you're calling me. I said, but I just want to make sure you understand. I'm just saying that the services are incomplete because I need that help. We all need that help. But I believe we can be better caregiver.
Est-ce que vous demandez à votre mari ce que vous pensez du travail que votre femme a fait en son nom, au nom des...
What do you think of the work that your wife has done on her behalf, on the behalf of other natural caregivers? Can you say a few words? I don't feel very comfortable. It's too difficult for him. He doesn't feel at ease speaking in public. All I can say is thank you. That's the whole principle.
We're not recognized. They don't ask us what we see at home. You know, at every evaluation, they don't ask us. I was told by a case manager that services were refused because my husband was married. Back then, we had 4 children at home. I had a full-time job. That was a year before I had to stop working. You know why? Depression. And I didn't understand why. How many are there out there just like me?
Vous avez dit que you said you had a case manager, and you said that your husband can speak to a psychologist on the phone. When Mr. Rainville came back from his tour of duty, he had a physical meeting. Now, I met my husband 2 years after he'd finished his tour of duty. He's been diagnosed 8 years ago. Everything was difficult for him. It's only in 2007 that he asked Veterans Affairs for help, and that's when he was diagnosed with PTSD.
Every week. My point is, since I had some tools, the difference it made is that now he can talk to him over the phone instead of going there. That was my point. Now I have a psychological help. I do, as much as I need it. But still, my question is, how do I deal with dissociation? How do you deal with panic attacks? How would you deal if he would dissociate right now and his reflex would be to take me away to protect me? Who would stop him? Who would you call? You would all say, hopefully Jenny knows what to do. And yes, now I know what to do after 8 years. That's my point. Pass on some knowledge to us. We don't have to wait 8, 10 years in order to feel empowerment in these situations. Do you realize the impact it has on our children, families, us, and them? Mostly.
What happens to families that don't know what to do? Like you say, you have the training now, but there are other people who don't. So what happens when that is?
I have tons of emails and Facebook messages that I received since last Thursday. How alone they are. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe the pain and the loneliness. Women now being 54. Tired. So tired.
Merci, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello again, Peter Van Dusen with you, and you've been listening to Jennifer Mignot speaking with reporters today on Parliament Hill about the treatment of veterans and their families. Now we'll shift our attention to the Prime Minister and his trip to Europe. The 4-day visit includes a stop in Normandy later in the week to mark the 70th anniversary of the D-Day landings that really marked the turning point in the Second World War. He'll also visit Ukraine on Saturday for the swearing-in ceremony of Ukraine's newly elected president, and he'll take part in the G7 summit in Brussels. But Harper's first stop today was in Warsaw, Poland, where he met with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. The crisis in neighboring Ukraine dominating their discussions. Poland's been hosting NATO exercises aimed at discouraging possible expansionist moves by Russia, given its recent actions in Ukraine. Harper and Tusk spoke with reporters after their meeting in Warsaw, and Stephen Harper said the Canadian government is boosting its military presence in NATO.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you to the press conference